Hi, my name is Tessa Doty. I have really enjoyed being in this earth science class. I feel like I learned a lot about global conservation efforts, about climate change, soil erosion, and from this project, I learned about a bunch of new places that I would like to travel to someday once the pandemic is over. Um, I really enjoy hiking, and I feel like I learned a lot of new places that I want to go explore. And from my research, I learned a lot more about Fiordland, New Zealand. And so I initially chose Fiordland because I just watched like a random YouTube video on it. It popped up in my recommended, and it turned out to be this great interview with this guy who lives in Fiordland and basically hunts for his own food, drinks rainwater that he collects, and lives with a really small community, maybe a dozen people. Um, and it was really interesting and it sparked my curiosity, so that's why I decided to do my research project on Fiordland. So it is located at a latitude of 45.42 degrees south and a longitude of 167.72 degrees east. It's located in Southland, New Zealand, and it is 12,000 square kilometers of pretty much untouched wilderness. It is the largest and the oldest national park in all of New Zealand, and it is absolutely beautiful. Um, so this is kind of what it looks like. I'll show you with my cursor if you can see, but essentially the reason why it has remained so untouched throughout all of history is that it's a bunch of fjords. So you can see how difficult it would be to travel through these by boat. You have to wait for perfect conditions, and that almost never happens because Fiordland is one of the rainiest places on Earth. It rains over 200 days out of the year. They receive somewhere around 23 feet of rainfall. So it's raining constantly. And then you see this really high mountain range right in the middle makes access really difficult from the other side. So like historical attempts to mine or log or fish around this area have been completely thwarted just because of the crazy weather. And so that is why it remains so beautiful and untouched and home to a lot of really amazing places. Um, the weather around Fiordland is a little more consistent than landlocked places in New Zealand just because of its proximity to the sea. So it's along the coast with the fjords, and that keeps the temperature a little more even. Generally, they stay between 18 to 22 degrees Celsius in the summer, and in the winter it falls to around 2 degrees Celsius. And like I said before, the rain is pretty much constant. If it doesn't rain for 15 days or more, it's referred to as a quote-unquote dry spell. And I just attached a little image of what the average temperature looks like in the summer and in the winter. So because it has been so untouched by humankind and it's so difficult to navigate, it's home to a lot of endemic plant species that are not found anywhere else. Lots of insects. So there are lots of insects in Fiordland. There's over 3,000 recorded species, and about 10% of those only exist in Fiordland. There are also some really cool rare birds, including the South Island takahe, which was thought to be extinct for a really long time until a few pairs of them were spotted in the mountains of Fiordland. And there are also 700 species of plants found only in Fiordland. So the main type of disaster that it's prone to is flooding, just because it receives such a high amount of rainfall because it's affected by the westerlies. That's the global wind belt that blows over this area. So the westerly wind blows over the Tasman Sea and blows eastward across Fiordland, and it reaches the really high mountain range that I mentioned earlier, and it turns into rain. So flooding and major rain events are the main disaster that this area is prone to. Um, Recently, on the 3rd of February of this year, Milford Sound, which is a fjord in Fiordland that's known for its hiking, it received about 566 millimeters of rain in a single day, which is about 22 inches, which is insane. I also looked it up and it said, like, over the period of the 3 days following, it received like 16% of its average annual rainfall. So you can definitely see in this picture the disaster that it caused. And this is actually one of like the few houses that are located in Fiordland, so luckily not a lot of people were affected, but it definitely does affect the few people that do live in the area. And it's important to, make efforts, that the government make efforts to restore the area just because it's a national park. And as climate change increases, the likelihood of severe events like this one also increase, especially in disaster-prone areas like Fiordland. However, it still remains a really beautiful place, so I just wanted to show you, I don't know if this will work, I wanted to show you a little bit of a YouTube video that just shows a little bit more of like the amazing sights in Fiordland. So let's see if you can see this. And I'll start at about here. So as you can see, super high mountain ranges, lots of waterfalls, lots of plants. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to hike there someday. So yeah, that is my presentation, and thank you for watching.